Hello and welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast, the show where we dive deep into real strategies behind starting and building consistently profitable businesses. Whether you're a founder, a sales leader, or a curious builder just starting a dream, podcast is a toolkit for making money, not just hoping for a lucky outcome. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton. Today, my guest is David Kusch. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So we've talked briefly a couple weeks ago, but why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes and introduce yourself to people who are listening?
Yeah. So my name is David Kusch. We own Technic Consulting. It's a IT managed services company for our clients are companies who are kind of tired of recurring IT issues, slow IT response time. We take care of small to mid-sized businesses from end to end and help them serve their clients better.
All right. You started off by saying we own Technic Consulting. Who is the we?
So it's a family-owned business. It's my wife and I.
Yes.
Corey is my wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we own that together.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that, like, usually if a husband owns a business, the wife's super involved. And if the wife owns a business, the husband's super involved.
Yeah.
And you just kind of end up there because it takes over a little bit of your day-to-day existence.
Yeah. It's been very helpful. It's been a great collaboration.
So when did you actually start the business?
So officially, I started the business in 2001, and I actually started it and ran it. I was a typical entrepreneur. I was a typical, first-time entrepreneur who had a skill set and thought, hey, I can do this as a business without knowing the business side. So it struggled for about 7 years, and we actually sold off the business for about a 2-year non-compete and learned how to do the business side right during those 2 years. Relaunched the business. So we've been doing it in its current iteration about 12 years now.
Okay. So tell me about the whole, so you made that comment, I was doing something and I thought I could make money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's straight out of the E-Myth.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because I think that's something that a lot of people, like when they're thinking about starting a business, that's kind of where they come from. Yeah.
Having the skill set. So I was employed as a senior network engineer at a Fortune 500 company, and I had the idea of I liked helping people and I liked doing the IT work in general. So I thought, hey, I can just do this as a business. Ended up leaving the company I was at and launched the business. And that I didn't understand the business structure. I didn't have anything planned out, which was a really poor idea. And it was basically 7 years of struggling, trying to, it was all time and materials, so hourly billing, hoping things went wrong in order so that I could make some money and try to get enough clients to sustain that, which it did not. So, that was the struggle those first 7 years.
So, this is what, episode 175, 180, we're in there. And one of the questions I ask everybody is, the standard advice when you start a business is you have to have a strategic plan put together. You have to have 6 months of savings, and you have to have a clear understanding of what people will pay you for. So when you think back to 2001, when you started the business, which of those three did you have?
Well, I think I had none of it. I probably was doing a little bit of help work on the side, like nights and weekends at that point, and thought, oh, I could probably do this enough, and build it up. We did not have the 6 month savings, which was foolish. We didn't have any customer base to speak of that would have sustained us launching full time. And all I had was the IT knowledge. Really, I didn't have the business plan or anything going at that point. So that was it definitely made all the difference when those things came in all these years later.
So how many years did you go before you actually had those? Because you went back, so you sold the business in 2008.
Yes.
And then you...
Yeah.
And then you came back in what year? 2000...
my timing might be a little bit off but I know I relaunched the business in 2012, I believe. So
Okay. And so in 2012 you came back, right? No man crosses the same river twice because the river's different and so is the man.
yeah.
What were some of the differences when you came back with it?
So during the 2-year hiatus that I waited to relaunch and the non-compete time, actually, I worked for a managed service provider back in Illinois, and they actually had not only did they have a better methodology as far as supporting clients, but they also had a really good methodology business-wise. So actually, during those 2 years before I relaunched, I actually learned a lot of the methods that they used, the business side. They were one of the big differences between them and my previous plan was that they were fully fixed cost support provider. So there were no hourly billing and going out and repair and charging for the hourly time. It was a fixed contract, almost subscription based. So having seen that and kind of learned all about that, that was instrumental to the relaunch.
Yeah. So what other things so you had the different business model really,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yep. So that the fixed, what other things had you changed?
There was the big thing that changed that was super important was consistency and how the clients are getting set up, actually. So the way that we're able to support our customers today so well was what I learned back then, actually, is I can pretty much walk right now into any one of our clients' locations and say, hey, I know the file server is called this. I know the network's set up this way. I know what all the addressing is for these. It was a very consistent methodology between all clients and restructuring the clients if necessary at our cost in order to make that repeatability. So you gain a ton of efficiency that way.
So it's almost like you build a franchise. Your clients are little franchises that you're running on a consistent operations manual.
Yeah. Very E-Myth, yes.
But I mean, that's in the end, you start the business with a passion and a belief that, hey, I can just do this. And it was funny because the phrase that you used was, I was hoping things would go wrong so they would have to pay me.
Which is crazy. Yep.
Which is nuts. Like it is the rule of misaligned incentives.
Yeah.
But you were doing good work then. You just happen to be doing profitable work now.
Right.
Which is
well, and the new. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry. The new method too. It changed us from being reactive to proactive. So now we can watch the environment, make sure things are rolling correctly before anything happens. So
yeah. So you mentioned that you started because you had a passion for the industry and you thought you could make a buck at it.
Yeah.
If you look back, most people, they start primarily on one side or the other. One side is, hey, I just love doing this, and the money will figure itself out. And the other side is, I'm going to make money even though this doesn't interest me very much. Which side would you have landed on originally?
It was actually both. I mean, the reality wasn't that we were making money at it, which is why it was such a struggle. But I do love the work. I have always enjoyed technology, and later on with IT and computers. So being able to do that, I'm one of those people who just like to help people too. So that just gives me such a joy that when I have that opportunity to fix things and people are like, "Oh, it's fantastic now," it's such a win. I guess at the beginning, though, I was hoping that would turn into, hey, this will be a constant stream of income, which it wasn't at that point for the business side.
And so Lorraine Ball, who was one of my earliest guests, she said that, you're never really in the business that you think you're in. Mm-hmm. You're in selling the business that you think you're in.
Yeah.
Right? Because until you sell IT services, you're not in the IT services business. So you start with selling. So what are some of the things like that you wish you knew when you started?
I guess one of the things I say is I wish that I I wish I had listened to some of the people who were probably counseling me at the time, who were saying, "Hey, do you have a business plan? Do you have this and that?" And it was, it was um, more the wishful thinking side of me, like, "Oh, no, no, it'll work out. It'll be fine." It was just kind of the going on the fly. So I think one of the things I wish I knew is just that. Um, I really should have had those things in place. The savings, which I guess the part I didn't mention is for the last 12 years, for the last 10 of those 12 years, I worked still full time and kept building the business in the nights and weekends. And when we launched, we did have the savings in reserve for about a year and having all that in place before we actually launched, which was super, super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so when you came back in 2012 and you had a business plan, how did you develop that? What were the things that you included in that?
Well, it was the fixed contract. It was the fixed support offering. That was a big part of it, actually. And again, the method to, go into the first client, who's still with us, by the way, which is fantastic. The first client was, all right, this is where I get to lay out exactly how it's going to look from here on out. And there's been some variations, of course, but mostly it's still the same methodology as far as structure for how things are set up and the repeatability of it. So that was the major part of it. That was huge.
All right. Any other lessons that you would pull out of that second startup versus the first one?
Mm, I guess speaking of to the full-time launch, one of the other lessons wish I had thought of immediately is, so I've already had a customer base for a while, and then I'm maintaining them, and then trying to get new clients and getting out there. Most everything up to that point, I would say everything up to that point, was word of mouth and referral, which was great. But when I launched, I guess there was an assumption there again, like, oh, I just keep doing this and getting out in front of people, and that'll continue. So the issue was, I didn't realize how much more I should have been, interfacing, going to network meetings, that sort of a thing. And Corey on the business development side, she's been instrumental to that part of it. But I really wish I had started that immediately at the 2-year mark. We've only really started launching into going to meetings and official sales probably in the last 3 or 4 months. So,
All right. So you've been doing this really almost 23, 24 years, right? You had a little break in the middle.
yeah.
But I can guarantee that there have been people that work for big mega corporations around you that have come to you and said, hey, listen, I'm thinking about starting my own thing. What advice would you give me? So when they come to you and they say that, what do you tell them?
One of the things, definitely. So I love, I mentioned to you, I love the book, The E-Myth Revisited. I think it was instrumental to relaunching the business. Just the idea of building the business as if you were going to franchise it, even if you're not franchising.
Yeah.
So for the repeatability, for the the ease of scale. So I guess my first recommendation to anyone like that would be stop, take time, research, everything that would be necessary for the business side. Have that 6 months to a year savings ahead of time. Have a very thought out plan, very, very detailed plan of how that's going to work, and work through, come up with problems you may problems you might encounter that you might need to overcome ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So as you look out, right, and you see all this stuff ahead of you, right? I want you to think back, if 2026 David could sit on the couch next to 2001 David and say, hey, tomorrow you're starting your business. By the way, it all works out, you'll be fine. But when you do this, here's the first thing you need to do. What's that first thing?
Have a definitive plan. That really is it. I mean, it was very much not thought out. I did not think it out at all in 2001. I had this optimism of this should work out well.
This will be fine.
Yeah, it'll be great. So yeah, having a definitive plan, and I'd say also like other. No, let's say that. Having a definitive plan. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Now, here's a question that I don't ask most people, but I think is relevant to you.
Yeah.
Right. That's looking backwards. Now we got, you're in the IT business, you work with computers, you're dealing with software and everything. We're in the midst of the first wave. This is like the AOL dial-up version of AI.
Yeah.
Right. When you look at what's happening, how do you see this impacting your business? Because you're hands-on and elbows deep in technology.
Yeah, I think it'll affect it a couple ways. I'd say for the tools and method, how machines are maintained and watched. I think there's going to be some. This is still the front end type of it, where there'd be some more automation and notification, some more machine learning as far as how things are detected, especially for cybersecurity. On the flip side, I think the scary downside is we've already seen in the last week or two where AI has been being used very heavily now, or let's say more heavily, for cybersecurity threats and threat actors. So it's becoming into a scary place where they have the ability to do a lot more than they did before. So that's already affecting our even the simplest things like emails. Phishing emails are getting worded correctly now, so it's much harder to detect for our clients. So there's definitely going to be much more training and awareness going forward. Going past that, 5 years down the road, I couldn't even tell you. It's amazing that we've gotten here in the last year. So I couldn't even have fathomed this is where we're at as far as AI. So it's going to be a constant learning process and definitely a fast adjusting process.
Yeah, well, I've had a bunch of conversations with people, and so two things that have come out of that. And you already said it. I can't even predict. Like 5 years from now, can't even predict. I'd be lucky if I could predict 90 days from now.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is, and it was kind of buried in your answer, but like when the phishing emails get better, the weak link is still the humans.
Yes, always. Yes.
Definitely. We
Definitely.
don't have to train the machines. We have to train the humans.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely do that because we say too, people think that, hackers are just sitting there trying to, hammer away at firewalls, trying to break into the network. And that's not it at all. It's all social engineering, about 90% of it.
Yeah.
It's the human's the easiest person to target.
Yeah. Well, we're the dumbest.
Yeah. We're imprecise.
All right. Well, that's a quick 20 minutes pretty much. I want to thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's just some good fundamentals and basics, and you've been around for a long time, and those are lessons like you've got to have reach out. You got to have a plan. You got, the more specific you are, and the E-Myth, the E-Myth book, recommending that is awesome. Like it is a classic book for starting a business. So
yeah. It is so useful.
All right. And there'll be information for people to contact you and reach out in the show notes. As a listener, if you like what you're hearing, 3 ways you can help. Leave a review, hit subscribe, share an episode. We appreciate it all. Well, next week we'll be back. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable. There we go.